This is the April 26th meeting of the Planning Commission. First order of business is for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance
to
to
the
the flag
of the
United States of America
and to
and to the republic
for which it
stands one
nation,
nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next order of business is the approval of the minutes. Are there any corrections, additions? Seeing none, do I hear a motion?
I would so move.
It's been moved. Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded. We approve the minutes from March meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Raise your hand. Those opposed? Okay, minutes have been approved. At this time, we ask for any citizens' comments. These are comments for items that are not on the agenda. Do we have anyone waiting, Gina?
No, we don't.
Okay. Moving right along, the next item is the planning, Carroll and Frederick County planners. Hannah is not going to be here this evening, but she did send this note, which I'm going to read. The county updates for the Mount Airy Planning Commission. Residential text amendments are still being discussed with the County Planning and Zoning Commission. The proposed text amendment being discussed, you can go to the website, Carroll County Government, and go from there, find the link from there if you have any questions. Number 2, spring and water and sewer amendments in Freedom and Manchester were found consistent by County Planning and Zoning Commission and forwarded to the county commissioners. 3, Miss Mary Lane will be presenting the annual report to Mount Airy's Planning Commission on May the 24th. At this time, she is looking for a certification from Mount Airy. Looking forward to seeing you all in May. Thanks, Hannah Weber. She had a conflict, so. And our next item is our Frederick County planner who is here. Hi, Tim.
Yes, hello, Chair Hemphill. Good evening, everybody, the Planning Commission members. I do have a short PowerPoint this evening, so okay. I will share the screen and get underway with the presentation. Okay, is that visible for everybody?
It's visible for me, yes.
Okay, so I just have a few slides to give a planning and development update. I'll present that this evening to the commission members. First, I'll talk about some subdivisions and site plans in the New Market and Linganore areas. There's also rezoning, and then some of the county planning initiatives there that are listed on the screen. I'll just very quickly go over those and then certainly take any questions that you may have. So I'll get underway with the first slide. Okay, so this is an aerial map, obviously, of the Lake Linganore area. To kind of center the map, I've indicated Oakdale High School. That's kind of the center of the map. Directly south of the Oakdale High School is what's called the Linganore Town Center. And 5 site plans have just been submitted in the last month for a grocery store, retail lot, fast food, coffee shop, probably Starbucks. I don't know. I'm not reviewing the site plan, and a standalone library. So the county is constructing a library in this part of the county. And just south of that, on the south side of Old National Pike, in between Interstate 70 and Old National Pike, is an additional commercial development. There's been a site plan approved for a 7-Eleven and gas station and the Goddard School. 2 new site plans in for that area, a medical office building, and an International House of Pancakes and a Dairy Queen. Moving further to the west there, where it says DeLauder, that area has MXD zoning or mixed use development, and there's proposing 9 lots for employment use. And then just north of that, I mentioned this at our last meeting or several meetings ago, the Cromwell rezoning, that was approved, and that's an age restricted project, 600 units there along Meadow Road. So I'll move on to the next slide.
Tim, one question for you real quick.
Yes.
So that is that a new interchange then from 70 that'll be in the new constructed interchange?
Yeah, the Meadow Road I-70 interchange is halfway completed. There's that one ramp heading westbound. Then the eastbound ramp to get off of eastbound 70 to Meadow Road is still under construction, or probably, I believe still in the design phase. So that'll be a full movement interchange at some point in the near future. So this is a map of the New Market area. The red line is the county's community growth boundary, and the green line there you can see is the municipal boundary of New Market. We have a brand new rezoning request in 92 acres for an age-restricted community. That has not been scheduled yet for our planning commission. They're just having the required community meeting early next month. But it'll kind of fill out that eastern edge of the New Market community growth area. It's next to the Food Lion there along 144 before you get to 75.
Mhm.
The next thing I'd like to discuss is kind of an interesting new initiative in the county, the Peace and Plenty Rural Historic District. It's brand new, and it's shown in black outline there. You can see on the screen, it goes up to Dietrich Road is kind of the eastern border, goes all the way down to Route 144, Old National Pike, and up to Old Annapolis Road. But what's interesting about this new rural historic district is the only one in Maryland. And this was initiated and proposed by the landowners who live there. So very interesting. They were very active, knocking on all their neighbors' doors, describing this new proposal. And some of those, 10 of those property owners have voluntarily applied to become on the county's Register of Historic Places. We're developing guidelines for this, design guidelines for this new district. And then the county council will ultimately approve the creation of this rural historic district. Has not gone to the council hearing yet. So that's the next stage. I don't think I wrote that on the list there. But down below the legend, all the coloring there you see are the historic properties that are listed on the the Maryland Inventory of Historic Properties. So quite a lot of history in that area. Near New Market, but that's a very interesting an expansion of our historic preservation program in the county. And just a few more slides. Livable Frederick, we continue to implement that plan. We're still working on the Sugarloaf plan. The formal title is the Sugarloaf Treasured Landscape Management Plan. And then the other plan that's underway is the South Frederick Corridors Plan, and that's essentially a redevelopment plan for the area around the 355 and 85 area, just south of Frederick City. And that does extend down south on Route 85 to where those industrial large buildings are located. And that concludes my update on planning and development. So I can answer any questions that the commission members may have, and I'll stop sharing the screen there. Okay.
Anyone have any questions?
Okay, so I have a question, because it was obvious over the past few years that there was a movement toward significant additional development in the New Market area. And given the proximity to Mount Airy, that's a potential concern for us. in terms of additional impact. So in terms of what you're seeing, as these development plans are moving forward, is it on schedule for the scope and the scale that was originally anticipated? Is it more? Is it less? What's your assessment of volume at this point?
Well, I could give you an update, Mr. Butts, of like all the villages in Lake Linganore, but it's certainly, they're moving ahead with subdivision plans. It was rezoned back in 2013, about 950 acres. So they're just moving ahead with the build out of the community, submitting the subdivisions, and then now this commercial component. But the other thing I'd like to point out or restate is that most of the new market growth area is built out, as you saw on the one map. And then this new rural historic district, that's kind of that's a buffer from new market. And that's a real, an interesting kind of buffer from a land use perspective to kind of stem essentially that eastward march of growth and development. Nothing is on our plans for growth from essentially Newmarket to Mount Airy. So this is another good preservation wall, I'll say, from between Newmarket and Mount Airy.
All right, good. Good to hear that. Thanks.
I'll just comment since, Tim, that new historic district, preservation district, that's very positive. So it's nice to have some good news, huh?
Yeah.
And I'm just curious, because we have such a water issue in Mount Airy. Like the Lake Linganore area, do they get the water from the lake, or Lynn's like, no, I already know this. So they don't have water issues, I assume, like we do.
Yeah, that area is served by the county's Potomac River source. Lake Linganore is still a secondary backup source of public drinking water, but it's just that a secondary backup source, and the main primary source of drinking water for that whole Linganore growth area is our large straw in the Potomac River.
And don't you remember what drought? Maybe 2002 or 3. That Frederick was shocked that they couldn't use Linganore.
I do not. I wasn't on planning yet, but I do remember when the Monocacy River was like almost dry. Yeah, I do actually.
Mm-hmm.
I think that also happened in 2007 or 8 because that's when I came back from Maine.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, well, thank you. And that's right. When Linda used to be a water person, like where she used to work, so she knows all that stuff too. So thank you.
And now I'm a zoo person, so talk
Yes.
to me. I can talk about animals.
Yes.
Well, thank you, Tim, for your presentation, and we're happy to see you, and hopefully we'll get to see you again. When do you anticipate you'll be back to see us again?
Whenever the chair would like.
You can come back in May if you want to. You can come back we'd love to have you. Come back every month if you
Very
can.
good.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay. Our next item is the introduction and discussion of the site plan extension request for Twin Arch Business Park Lot 19, Service Masters S18-004. So, John?
Yeah, so 1 second here.
Okay.
So we were, a request was submitted for an extension of the MGS LLC, which is the Service Master Restoration. Currently is located, their business currently is located in Twin Arch Business Center. And they were looking to expand their operations to a new lot on lot 19, and that was S18-0004. And I'm pretty sure the dates were confusing because the date of the record Mylar signature is the date that we basically start that 12-month or the 18 or 2-year period from. Just wanted to clarify that with Ron. I think he was using the incorrect date when the application came in. So there might be a change to this possibly. anyway, we're recommending the extension at the staff level. The applicant is going through some personal issues supposedly, and don't want to get into those personal issues, but at this point in time, they're requesting the extension for the 12 months currently. And at the staff level, we don't have any problems with it. I don't know if you guys have any questions or concern that Ron might be able to answer related to the request. I did submit to you the staff report that was approved by the Planning Commission, also the letter from the engineer for the applicant.
John, what is the date on the Mylars?
The date on the Mylar was June the 9th, 2020.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know Mr. Thompson is here. Do you have anything to add to this, Ron?
No, we just thank the staff for supporting this request. It has been a hurdle for Mr. Cross to get here, and he still has a desire to build this. Invested a lot of money into it, both from an architectural point of view and as well as the site plan. And he would like to be able to have this continue forward. This quite frankly is a rarity out there. Everyone else is trying to get under construction as soon as possible.
Any questions from the commissioners? Concerns? Seeing none, do I have a motion to extend the plan to June 9th, 2022? Okay.
I will go ahead. I will so move that motion and recommendation with the conditions and concerns that that planning staff has identified on page 4 of their write-up.
Okay, that also includes the water and sewer allocation permit. Okay, it's been moved that we extend the final plat approval to June 9th, 2022, extending also the water and sewer allocation permit. Is there a second to this motion? It's seconded. Okay, I got Leslie first. So it's been moved and seconded that we extend the site plan to June 9th, 2022, as well as the water and sewer allocation. All those in favor signify by raising your hand and saying aye. Those opposed? Okay, thank you, Ron.
Thank you.
You're welcome. The next item of business is the discussion of the text changes, and I'm going to hand this over to Leslie. So I don't know if do you have any thing you need to share the screen for, anything?
Well, whoops, can you hear me? That was weird.
Yep.
Okay, I think it was passed out. John sent it out. With
Yes,
the packet.
Yes.
So
We have it.
that's all it is.
Okay.
So basically putting the kind of making community commercial more consistent with neighborhood professional and limited commercial, and even though those were all amended before I got here on the commission, I thought it was always an oversight that it was never, like when neighborhood professional and limited commercial were added, community commercial was never amended to reflect that, you can, why would you be able to put commercial next to something that you can't put limited commercial next to?
Right.
So basically that's the purpose, and I thought we should do it now rather than later, since people are gonna be wanting to submit applications for zoning changes during the master planning process. So the language is really very basic. You all have it, because I've never shared a screen, so I don't even
Okay.
do that.
Leslie, I like this because I think the extension of the consistency is well taken. This is a position that we've acted on and we've enforced for many years now. So yeah, I think it's a smart move to do so. I was looking over the language and trying to come up with something that was maybe a bit smoother, but I, I've got so many crossouts that I'm not sure that I can offer something.
Do you mean changing like the original purpose?
Well, no, I mean what you offered for proposed change down under number 2.
All right, let's hear some ideas. Let's hear your ideas and see.
Okay.
Do you want to share the screen? I can bring up the document.
I was gonna say, John can
Oh,
probably.
yeah,
Yeah.
I can do that.
Yeah, there we go.
All right, cool.
So Bill, which one were you talking about? You're saying
Well,
two.
actually, my first thought was maybe a one-word change on part 1, the last sentence. It's also essential that areas for this district have excellent vehicular accessibility, and I simply said via, as opposed to on, major thoroughfares that service the community and surrounding area.
Wait, you're
Wait a
looking
minute,
at,
I don't see where you are.
he's on limited. I see what I did, Bill, is I put how neighborhood professional is currently written and how all 3 of them are currently written, which is what you're looking at. I didn't do all that. That's all exactly how it is. My only change was at the very end. So I put neighborhood professional and limited commercial so that people could see exactly, how those are compared to community
Well,
commercial.
what I'm responding to and what I
Yeah, that
read,
was
and
just about this definition right here, because it's kind of,
I have 2
Yeah.
pages in my packet that I received on this. So,
So it's the second page, proposed change to CC is what we want to look at.
well, I mean, that's what I was referring to, yeah.
okay, it was just way up.
We weren't there. We weren't there.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
you were up there, but go ahead and
That's
now
my
that
bad.
you're here, yeah, that.
All right, well, if someone has, a comment or a suggestion before that, go ahead and chime in. Otherwise, I'll proceed. This was on the second page under
Right.
proposed change to CC, just as we see
Right.
there on the screen.
Yeah.
Okay, last sentence of number 1 under purpose. It's also essential that areas for this district have excellent vehicular accessibility, and I simply said via, as opposed to on, major thoroughfares that service the community and surrounding area. This number 2, parens, the CC district, and here's what I've got. I've got a lot of stuff here. I'm see if it makes sense. The CC district will only be assigned where it will be adjacent to the limited commercial district, LC, the CC district, or any other more intensive zone, and where community commercial will provide more flexibility than current NP and LC districts are able to provide.
Oh, and by the way, my little A there was not actually part of the proposal. It was just really for your information.
Yeah, I'd probably, I think it's understood. I think that's the whole purpose of what you're proposing. So I'm not sure it even needs to be in the document.
No, that wouldn't be in there. That's what I was just saying. That was just for you guys.
So one question is, let's say I'm thinking, sorry. So if we have a CC district and we rezone next to it a CC district, then we don't have to worry about the limited commercial, correct? Because they're backing up to one another.
Right, if a commercial district can always be next to another commercial district, either now or in this proposal. I mean, like I said, what I'm pointing out here that would not be part of the ordinance is that under my example, a CC could actually be like a property that's, say, residential, could actually be zone CC if it were next to a limited
Right.
commercial, whereas the other ones are not like that. They say they cannot be changed unless it's to a higher intensity district. So that gives it like a little bit more flexibility than the other ones. But other than that, it's, you know, and I don't know, I'd have to really look at Bill's stuff in writing because it's hard for me to, you know, just hear it. But I would probably want to keep it as simple as possible. And
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. The important thing here is we're still requiring a buffer zone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's, so it's consistent with the other zones and it's requiring the buffer. So I don't know if anybody else has any comments or questions.
I would like to see what Bill has, because I can't, I mean, I need to read it.
Yeah.
Okay. What I can do is I can scan this and send it out to everybody.
So do we want to, I mean, I've never really proposed legislation, so I don't know, like, if Tom would need it from the meeting or if he can take something, you know, in the middle of, you know, before next.
That's what I was gonna ask.
Yeah.
Tom, do we need to change put this into an ordinance for these changes?
Yeah, if you're proposing legislation, then, you know, at some point there should be a vote of the planning commission to recommend, you know, some formal ordinance, and then it would go to the town council, of course.
Right. And so the question is, would we, if we can see Bill's stuff now, then we can vote tonight, or do we have to wait for an entire month, I guess?
Well, I would say that if what you're voting on are some fairly simple changes, you could certainly vote to recommend them. Then I would then, you know, put it into an ordinance form for introduction to the town council, would reflect your recommendation. If you're talking about really complicated changes and a lot of them in existing code, I'd probably wait the month.
All right. Do you consider what I have proposed to be complicated?
No.
Maybe Bill can email it to John, what he's got, and somehow John can put it on the screen or something.
I think what Tom is saying is that you guys can recommend the changes to the text. Bill could submit his changes to me. I could submit it back out to you guys. You can respond back to me to say yes. Then I could forward it to Tom for him to draft up the recommendations from the planning commission to the town council. Is that correct?
That's not what I understand.
Well, yeah. Well, I'd be concerned about communicating, you know, instantaneously by email, because that can be considered a meeting.
Right. So basically, we want to, and other people might have ideas, but we want to see them tonight during this meeting so that we can see what we're recommending, if anything.
But guys, I would recommend actually drafting an ordinance and then recommending that ordinance to town council, as Tom said, meaning
right. That's what will be done. Exactly.
Right. But you're not going to have a completed ordinance tonight. Your only recommendation will be to Tom based on the language that you agree on. So then Tom will have to go draft an ordinance. It will have to come back before planning in a month.
Well, well, Tom is not so certain it would have to come back before planning if it's basic enough. So the issue right now is whether we are able to visually see Bill's changes and anybody else's comments or changes. That's the issue right now. So is that a possibility?
Yeah, I guess what I'm saying is if the proposed changes that the planning commission wants to recommend are a lot more than what we see on the screen right now, then I and what was suggested by Councilwoman Reed. If it's just this is easy enough. But if there's a bunch more, then I would draft up and wordsmith it and take the month. So
No, all I was suggesting was a very modest rewording to accomplish what the intent that Leslie had with what she proposed.
So are you okay if we go ahead and recommend this proposed change to go into an ordinance tonight, Bill?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I think Martina might have had a comment. I don't know, a while back.
I don't see it. I don't see everybody.
That
So.
was before.
Sorry, I had my hand raised and then I put it down because we were discussing it. So no, it's okay. I was just wondering if for requirements, there had been a lot of discussion about walkability, and in the town survey, people wanted to be able to walk and access things. So if commercial areas, we don't specifically say in here that it needs to be pedestrian friendly. We talk about vehicular accessibility. Do we need to say specific something about that, or just let it go?
Well, I think you see the walkability issue that we want more so in the mixed use than the other than our other zones that we have put together.
Right. That's a strong message in the comp plan.
Yeah. I mean, it's up to the rest of the commissioners.
Okay. Thank you.
I mean, it's always, I was going to let it go. And I think that's kind of a weird definition, but I don't want to belabor this thing.
Okay.
Because it is commercial, and for the most part, to commercial people are going to be driving unless they can't, so I'd be more than happy to take out the whole reference to vehicles, but that's, that wasn't my intent was to create consistency with the other business or commercial districts. But I'm certainly happy always to eliminate vehicular references. So it is a good point.
Councilman Munder just made a good point in the chat. I think today probably was the last day to get on the May agenda for the town council anyway. So this wouldn't come up until, it couldn't be introduced until June anyway. So you got a month there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're just going to charge you, Tom, with putting together an ordinance and bring it back to us and look at it at our May meeting. I'm sorry, yes, at our May meeting, and then we can submit it to the council.
Right. And in the meantime, Bill, if you want to send what you wrote around,
okay,
see what it says.
Well, I mean, it was just a very simple attempt at some wordsmithing, but otherwise, your intent and what it does to make in terms of consistency, I think is absolutely appropriate.
And one thing about the term adjacent, it's not defined. And so I kind of consider that word to be a problem because, well, for the reason that unless we want to define it, but it's in a few places and it has sometimes caused confusion or potential confusion. So.
Okay.
Well, I think everybody's more comfortable getting a chance to group and see everything together and bring it back to the at our May meeting. Does anybody have a problem with that?
Yep. Okay,
good. We don't need anything, Tom, to say what we're doing. We just are charging you to do that.
As soon as you have that ordinance number, let me know and I'll make sure it gets on the June agenda for town council.
Okay. Thank you. By the way, I did look at neighborhood professional, but I think it was covered with the whole, when it was amended for the optometrist or whatever.
So our next item is possible discussion on the master plan, chapter 6. I don't have my master plan with me.
Well, I put that in case, I knew it was gonna be a very short agenda, so I figured we would put it in there in case we wanted to discuss it. We can still discuss that at our next workshop,
Yes, we'll start with that at the next workshop.
which is fine.
I will ask if there's, since, if there's anything in any of the chapters that we've gone over, plus, the discussion by Joe Griffiths about, the workforce housing. Does anyone have any questions about any of that, or what we've been over before?
I think we have to decide when we're really gonna dive into the housing, because yeah, we got the presentation, but because it's a new element, it's not like, oh, it's chapter whatever. So it seems like in a way it can be relevant to some of the other things, but I don't know how you want to arrange that. I think Martina asked about that. It's like, yeah, we have to do it, but what exactly should you be assigning us things, or how do we want to deal with that?
Well, one of the first things we have to decide, because you remember what Joe said, that as far as the maximum income for that workforce housing, Mount Airy is split exactly down the middle. It's in the Baltimore Metro and it's in the DC. So I think the first thing we need to discuss, and this is a discussion we also have to have with Tom, is how we're going to do that.
Right.
That's my big concern too, that we're split, and the difference in the housing is amazing.
Yes. So
Yeah.
I would like to discuss that at our next workshop. I don't want to get too far down the road from the presentation. I'd like to start to discuss that at the workshop on, which is May the 6th.
Yeah.
At 6 o'clock.
Has anybody filled Tom in and that we want him to give a legal opinion about it or whatever?
I'm filling him in right now. So when we had the presentation, I think you were there.
He wasn't
Joe.
there.
Oh, he
It's
wasn't
not,
there.
no.
So what happens when Joe showed us the maximum income, just because Mount Airy is Mount Airy, we are in both metro areas, Baltimore Metro and DC Metro. The max for the workforce housing in the Baltimore Metro area is 106,000. The max in the Washington Metro area is 124, and it's almost 125. So we have to decide how we're going to identify our workforce housing maximum income. It's not suggested that we say, well, if you're on this side, you do this, and you're on that side, you do this. Let's come up with one consistent figure. And he suggested that we do that make sure that you were there with us so that we have legal help to do this. Okay?
Yep.
So Roxanne, a quick question. Is there any historical information that shows us the trend over time for these two areas? Because obviously Mount Airy in general has much higher housing values and to some extent, I think income levels perhaps, than a lot of the surrounding communities. We're unique in that area. We're unique certainly for Carroll County. So I'd like to understand how that may have changed over time and the relevance of that to now these current values.
Okay, well, remember the values we're looking at are not maximum incomes. They are.
I understand it's a percentage, but we can get to what the actual values are and therefore what the workforce housing values are. We also have to understand the current composition of our community and how that's changing. We also have to understand that for the most part, we're primarily talking about not expanding the size of the community, infill at best. That was the direction that we laid out with our 2013 plan. We haven't done that.
Other than mixed use.
Other than
Yeah,
mixed use.
yeah.
Right.
Other than
I
mixed
guess
use
that's could be.
and office park professional, which I'm not sure if it's dead in the water, but it seems like it is. So that's the bigger context of what we're talking about.
Okay, so.
Hey, Roxanne.
Yes.
I have a question. So when we were looking at the website and the charts, the graphs, whatever, it was still 2019, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. They're waiting for the census data.
That was my next question to
Okay.
John, because a lot of this demographic information is sensor information that we need to start having to develop our master plan. So John, do we have any idea when the census is gonna be finished so we can see these demographics? I don't want to go on a 2019 demographic as opposed to a 2020.
I did receive some preliminary factors or values, but I will reach out to the planning department tomorrow and find out if they can give me some concrete information from the census related to that and exactly when the due date is. I think they pushed it back to May again for the final numbers, but I did get some preliminary numbers.
Okay, well, we're almost in May.
This is true. I'll reach out to Carroll County tomorrow to find out exactly when the release date is for the final numbers.
Okay.
And see if I can come up with some information there.
I mean, we can put together some sales figures for homes for the last decade. If that, Bill, if you want to put those, if you want some sales data, that's definite. I can get that definitely.
Well, that's part of it. I mean, there's so many issues and factors that are in flux right now in terms of employment, in terms of income levels, in terms of housing costs, in terms of rising cost across the board for folks. There's so much in flux. We're going to be challenged to try to nail something down with all of those competing changes and factors.
Yeah. Well, considering last week in the 21771 zip code, there were only two-story houses for sale. So the inventory, the market and the inventory is very, very low. Mm-hmm. The prices are going up because construction costs are going up, new houses are going up. Well, you know, I can put together as much as I can. But you'll see a dramatic rise in prices between 2018 and today, 2020.
So part of the reason that I share these thoughts and these concerns is it wasn't that long ago we were gravely concerned we could lose one of our local schools. We've lost so many over the years. And we were concerned about that because it looked like at the time, given the trends, we were not replenishing the graduation rate. Depending upon cost of housing and local cost of living, that continues to be a concern in terms of your ability to be able to attract and satisfy young families with young children and the other draws that you want your community to have for replenishment of young families. Otherwise, we're aging in place. Okay? And that has an awful lot to say about our schools. It has an awful lot to say about local services and capability. There's a balance here that's going to be very, very hard to achieve. But as a planning commission, I think we've got to be concerned about it. And you know, there's also some pressure from the state to consider some of these additional factors for the updates of our master plan. So I'm not sure we're at a point of stasis yet where we can see some stability in all of the relevant factors. But let's work on it and let's look at the big picture and try to understand how that affects what are our values and our desires to provide the best for the town.
Yes, Leslie.
Good points, Bill. It kind of reminded me, or made me think of something regarding this divide, or like the Baltimore area and DC. So when you're thinking of workforce housing and affordable housing, you know, you're probably not like the wealthier people, which is a lot of people in this town, but are the ones who tend to work in DC, who would be more of that Washington area number, percent, whatever you call it. And so the people who already, because we did see some of those charts, you know, and there's already, you know, X number of people, what was it, close to 40% or whatever, are paying over 30% of their income in housing costs.
Yes.
So the people, so do you want to use like the higher income number when for the most part, the lower income people are not going to be,
no,
you know,
it's out of reach.
I don't know. I'm not really stating.
No, I understand what you're saying. We just have to establish.
And that counts for the workforce housing, because you're talking teachers and firefighters.
That's workout.
Town staff. And, you know, these are not the people who are making the kind of money that people who work in DC make. So, you know, we got to be practical in a sense too, when we look at the, you know, these two brackets.
So what I'd like to do, I think this is going to take a while, and Leslie, since you volunteered this, there are certain things that we need to find out about those people in the workforce. So, Leslie, would you mind looking at the firemen, nurses, teachers, the workforce, their basic workforce, the salaries of those people, and bring them back to our workshop? I think that'll help us a lot. And I would investigate all 4 counties just to see the difference. As far as John, you're just going to have to give us what demographics you have. As far as the number of people we have, how many families we have. I didn't hear you.
I'll pull all the data I can from what the average income is in the town of Mount Airy. Ultimately, it sounds like Leslie's going towards more of the Baltimore region than the Washington, D.C. region. If we're trying to look at affordable housing, to be able to meet
workforce housing. It's not affordable housing. Let's stop using
workforce housing. Excuse me.
Thank you.
There's actually 2 prongs to the element, Roxanne. There's workforce housing and there's affordable housing. And
I know, but we're going to use workforce. We're looking at the workforce housing right now.
But workforce housing is what we were talking about in terms of teachers and firefighters. And
we have to look at the affordable housing. We do have to look at the affordable housing component as well.
John, I think one of the challenges in all of this is that what is the reality of these averages and these numbers and cost of living and so forth for the town of Mount Airy, and even different sections of the town of Mount Airy can be dramatically different from each of our 4 counties that we are either a part of or that we are adjacent to. So truly understanding what the local cost of living is for our various groups and how they're employed and so forth, it's going to be challenging, but that's the reality. It's not necessarily the larger average of an area that extends outside of a portion of Mount Airy.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're only going within the boundaries, and we have to remember that these figures were developed by the Department of Housing and Urban Development. So we have to come up with one figure. We can't put different areas together because
That's not
it would have to be. I don't think HUD would like that. So
well.
we're going to come through with Department of. We're going to have to come through with something that the Department of Housing and Urban Development understands what we came through with.
Well, Roxanne, HUD is not going to be coming in and watching us. The HUD, I always forget the term, but the demarcation that the HUD uses is, a lot of that is for voucher users. And so you say in X, area, somebody using a voucher, HUD is going to pay this amount of money because it's really, really expensive here.
Well, yeah, it depends on where they get their voucher from, which I was not aware that you.
I'm not sure what you're talking about.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Get your voucher through the local housing authority, which gets everything from HUD, and there's all different kinds of vouchers, and you can apply in all these different ways.
Right.
But when you have the voucher, it pays,
X amount of dollars.
Yeah, and it's gonna pay probably less in Westminster than it is here because the cost of renting a house is gonna be less in Westminster.
Mm-hmm.
But my point being, that's a big reason that HUD does those.
Right, but they go by county. It doesn't.
They're not going to do it, but they're not going to be coming in and looking to see what we're calling workforce housing.
No, but what you're saying with the vouchers, I thought they only went by the county. So if I look in Mount Airy for something, my voucher for a 2-bedroom house is going to be the same here as it is in Westminster.
Oh yeah, I don't even know. I was just using it as an example.
Yeah.
Point out that HUD doesn't care what formula we use. Now maybe the state cares.
Well,
but HUD, I don't think HUD's.
I'm seeing that as a concern.
Now I don't know if Tom. I don't even know, Tom, if you've looked at, that all that stuff on the website. I mean, there's like lots of information.
Yeah, we'll send you the link so you can look at it, and now also the recording because we recorded Joe's presentation.
That'd be great. Yep.
It's mind-boggling.
Well,
so that's just something that we have to. One of the things that we need to deal with. So.
And yeah, I was thinking we also have grocery store workers and people who work at like Ace Hardware. And
like hourly, yeah, we need to find out what the hourly average hourly wage is as well.
I think we're up to like $11 an hour.
I think. I was going to say, I thought it was 11.
Oh, gosh.
Maybe 11.20.
Right. I think we have 2 more years to get the $15 an hour minimum wage because we're doing that at the zoo.
Okay. Yeah. So it's like.
So now we're at 11, and then in 2 more years it'll go up to 15.
I can check for sure about that, but I know it's I think it's 2 years that we have to be at 15 minimum wage.
Okay, Lindy, if you'll check that for us, I'd appreciate it.
All right.
Okay, anything else? I don't have anything else. John, do you want to talk about what's coming in the future here?
Yep. So future items, one of them is Ridgeville Heights, amended plat, track 1 and 2nd track. This is 2 current lots in the town of Mount Airy along Main Street. They were very long and very deep, very narrow. They transferred them to, they're reorienting the lot lines to make a larger single lot in the front with the remaining 2nd track in the back. It'll provide adequate 100-foot road frontage, which will allow for an additional house to be built in that section. It is in Frederick County. So that looks like it's have met all the requirements to come in front of you guys for approval. Of course, the green tree. I'm sorry. Is that me? Okay, there was an echo or something. Apologize. The next one is Green Tree Village Pattern Book. We've talked to the engineer. We've submitted our changes to the pattern book, which will be coming in front of you for your recommendation or for your information, and then we'll have to set a public hearing. And of course, there'll be possible work sessions with the town council if needed. Then we had
I have a question about that.
Go ahead.
That's Green Tree up at North Main Street?
North Main, yeah.
North Main, yep.
So I've just seen a big for sale sign up there for the past few months. Like, so what's going on?
Well, I guess as an owner, if they find somebody who will come in and buy it out from underneath of them.
So is that, does Rob Scranton still own it?
I don't think Rob owns it. I think him and his partner split. Again, that will come out in the laundry later.
Okay.
But
so it doesn't really, it's immaterial, I guess, that it's for sale.
Yeah, that sign really, I think it's just there as a, I don't know.
Okay. It's just that it showed up not that long ago, a few months.
The for sale sign you're saying?
Yeah, it's not like it's always been there like the one on the bank building.
Yeah, no, and this is very similar to what was presented earlier. It's just a change to a little townhouse community kind of a thing towards the back. It's a reduced number of houses that'll meet the open space requirements. It'll meet all the requirements for development. So anyway, moving on. We have Twin Arch Business Park Section 3, Lot 32. This is a site plan that's been in front of you multiple times. At one point, it came in to do a grading only plan a couple years ago. Then they came back in. So I think they're trying to get to the end of the finish line. So that'll be another plan that'll be coming from it in front of you. Then the Mount Airy Eye Center, which is the one off of Ridge Drive, that'll be the one that's we had changed the NP district to allow for the increased footprint for a demolished building. And then our next commission date is on May 24th, 7 p.m. because of the Memorial Holiday weekend. We moved it up to the 24th. And that's it, Roxanne.
Okay, I have a concern.
Mm-hmm.
All of these future items in terms of development are essentially residential. We said back in 2013 that in terms of development, our priority was infill. And that was primarily MXD based. It was integrated residential and commercial / retail. Because as we all know, having lived here for a number of years, we're basically blocked in our traditional downtown area for expansion. What we need more of in terms of balance is residential, commercial, retail. That was part of the opportunity of the Center Street extension, which really hasn't progressed that much. Okay. What we're still talking about around the perimeter is primarily residential. That doesn't help our balance.
Well, Bill, actually the Ridgeville Heights is just an existing lot of record that's just being reconfigured to allow existing house to be built on an existing lot of record. So that would be infill. The Green Tree Village is actually a commercial / residential. So it does have a large commercial element at the front of the property. So that would be infill as well, right? Because that's an existing parcel in the town.
Not infill in the areas that we designated. It's outside of that. But as long as there's some balance in terms of the contribution of these developmental areas on both the commercial, retail, more so than the residential component, yes, that helps. That helps with our long-term objective.
Well,
Does Green Tree still have its water? I guess we can talk about that next time.
Yeah.
I see Bill's concern. However, some of the things that we want to do infill with, we kind of linked or thought that they would be good mixed use developments, and they can't do anything yet because we haven't completed the comprehensive plan. So the zone is not in there. I mean, we haven't rezoned the property that we have designated as mixed use. So that's part of the reason why we're not seeing a lot of infill at this point in time. So we just need to be diligent and keep working the master plan and keep
Yep.
you know,
Yep.
doing our due diligence to get it done. Anyone else?
Okay.
Do I have a motion to adjourn? It's been moved that we adjourn. Is there a second? It's been moved, and Sal do Scott this time. It's been moved and seconded that we adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Great. Our next time together will be May the 6th at 6 o'clock for the workshop. Thank you, everybody, for your hard work. Have a great rest of your week. Bye.
See you later.
For your time.
Bye, everyone.